Right guys, welcome back to another video, and today let's talk about some football. Right, so today basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through our Premier League predictions for this week. Now, I just want to preface this before we get into it. There obviously was a cancellation of the Premier League last week. You might have seen my YouTube shorts on that. I mean, it was the right thing to do, and we're back in the Premier League again. However, this week we only do have 7 games, from what I can remember. It's less than usual. I think it's to do with staffing and police and all that sort of stuff. Some stuff like the Brighton game I think got cancelled because of protests and stuff like that. I don't know, but that's probably the main reasons why. The 7 games, so this video might be a bit shorter than usual. If you're new to the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into this one. So the first game, which is the Friday night ones, which is just after this video comes out, hopefully if I get it up in time, fingers crossed, is Villa versus Southampton. Now for this one I've gone for a 1-1. And I wrote these predictions about last week, actually, when I found out which games were actually confirmed and which weren't. And I just think that obviously Villa haven't been very good this season, but they're not going to keep losing with the squad they have. Their squad is actually extremely good. Like, from my personal opinion, and from what I've seen of the players in that squad, they can perform and they will be fine. Southampton, a lot of their players are playing at a very good level. Like, let's just be fair to Southampton. A lot of people every single season predict Southampton to get relegated, and Ralph Hasenhüttl actually does a really good job with this team. Fair play to him. Like, fair play. I just think that at some point it's just going to be a poor game, in my opinion. I don't know if it's going to be very fun to watch, but I think it's going to be a 1-1. Next we move on to the game which is the promoted teams, which is Forest versus Fulham. In my opinion, Forest, I want Forest to win. This is more of the thing of I need Fulham to get relegated for my prediction to be right. And I would like Forest to win because I quite like Forest as a team. So I've gone for a Forest win in this one, actually. I've gone for 2-1, mainly because I think Fulham have been really good this season. And I actually rate how Fulham have been playing. Very good football and extremely fun to watch. I just think Nottingham Forest at some point again need to pick up some points. I want them to stay in the Premier League, and this is a must-win game if they want to stay in the Premier League. And if Fulham want to stay in the Premier League, this is a must-win game. Like, a draw's okay, but realistically, if one team wins it, that could be decisive in who goes down in this relegation battle. Moving on to Wolves versus Manchester City. Now, for this one, I was just thinking, who's not going to win? Now, for this one, I wasn't really thinking about who's going to win in this one. Let me just be honest there, because it's quite obvious who's going to win in my personal opinion. I could be wrong, completely wrong. I could be really off, but I just think Man City are going to win for some reason. Like, maybe it's because they've got the best squad in Premier League history. That might be the reason why I think that. Still undefeated, still could go invincible, theoretically. Had 2 draws, still getting points from every single game. This Wolves team are just not going to be able to cope with the amount of pressure that this Man City team is going to put on them, especially if they play that 4 at the back system, which they've been trying to enroll in this team. It might go horribly wrong for this Wolves team, and I've gone for a 2-0, but that's being generous to Wolves being a half-decent team this season at the start of it anyway. Moving on to Newcastle versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth, just not going to be very good. Like, Newcastle, I think, obviously Newcastle's squad is going to improve year by year because of the investment and the players they're signing. The calibre of players which want to come to this Newcastle project now are crazy. Someone like Isaac, someone like Callum Wilson's there, St. Maximan, Sven Botman, Pope, all these players come in there. Bruno Guimaraes as well. It's insane how quickly this Newcastle squad has turned around and become one of the best squads in the whole of England. Top 10, in my opinion. They just need a right winger, in my opinion. But I'm straying away from the point that I think Newcastle are going to win this 2-1. I just think against this poor Bournemouth side, where we've seen they can't defend, especially in that Liverpool game, that wasn't great. You're going to see how bad of a team they actually are against the Newcastle team, which is on the up. Moving on to the game, which I was hoping wasn't going to happen, but it is Spurs versus Leicester. Now, I was hoping we'd have an easy game, because I think we were actually meant to be playing Aston Villa last week, and that would have been a game where we could have picked up some points. It's turned out we're playing Spurs, the team that I predicted to come second in the Premier League, and this is a game for Spurs which will be a must-win. I've gone for 3-1 Spurs. Spurs are going to demolish Leicester City, if I'm honest. Unless Leicester City have turned it around and made like some drastic chemistry changes and really developed as a team mentally, because I think that's where half of the problem is for Leicester City, is developing as a team mentally, because they just seem so broken at this point in time. I don't know if it's the manager's fault. I don't know whether it's players leaving's fault. Like real players that were like for example, Schmeichel probably was like a dad to a lot of that group. Like I'm not saying but he was probably a massive influence in the changing room. Casper was, to be fair to that team. And losing him and not replacing him is a big change. Especially when you're losing the quality of Wes. It's not a great sign for Leicester City. I think they're going to lose this one 3-1 and it's not going to be fun for Brendan Rodgers. And I think he might get sacked after that defeat. Moving on to Brentford versus Arsenal. Now, Brentford, I praise Brentford to the highest degree every single season that they are in this league, because they shouldn't realistically be in this league. Thomas Frank doing an amazing job. I just think this Arsenal team, they're going to win it. They're going to stay top of the table for now until Man City catch them. I think they're going to beat this Brentford team. If they don't, that looks like a sign that they're falling off and they could still just be a top 4 team, not really challenging, which I don't think they'll challenge in the end anyway. I don't think anyone will. I think it'll be about a 15-point deficit that Man City are up by. But I just think that this Arsenal team has a bit too much quality for Brentford and needs to prove something back after they've lost that Manchester United game. And the final game of this week is going to be the most boring one, which is Everton versus West Ham. I think it's going to be a 0-0. West Ham haven't had the greatest start to the season, had some really good signings that are hopefully going to improve them. I really like West Ham as a team and how they went from relegation fighting to being one of the top teams in England. It's a great story. A very good story, and shout out to David Moyes for making that team work and performing at a high level. Now, they have actually had investment this season, signing a few players from Europe. They might take some time to bed in, but I think they're going to do well. But in this case, I just feel as if those signings aren't going to be ready to perform at the high level, and a lot of West Ham's team from previous seasons looks a bit worn out, not as good. I don't think they're going to score any goals there, and I just also think that who are they playing? Everton. I still don't want to predict Everton to win a game because I just don't like Frank Lampard as a manager. I like him as a player, but not as a manager. And I just don't think they have the firepower to score really any goals. But that is the end of the video, guys. If you have enjoyed this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.